Hey guys, welcome to Movies with Ari. I'm Ari and I'm so excited to review the Netflix original movie, Sweet Girl. So let's get into it. First of all, Jason Momoa is amazing in everything I see him in. Everything I've seen so far has been really great. I loved him in Game of Thrones. I loved him as Aquaman. I think he's a really great actor. And this movie is no exception. It's really an amazing movie. I really like it a lot. The movie begins with Ray Cooper being chased by the police. And then we're thrown back into the past. So this is a really interesting kickoff of the story of this character, Ray Cooper, being chased, because we don't know how that happened yet. So it's really cool that they threw us back in the past, gave us a little teaser of what could happen, and then threw us back. Amanda is Ray's wife, who gets sick and she has cancer, but it came back harsher and more severe than it's been. And while she is sick, Ray's a fighter and he teaches his daughter Rachel how to fight as well, so how she can take care of herself and whatnot. So the movie surrounds itself about this company called Bioprime, who created this drug called Sparrow that could cure cancer, and it was in its final stages of the FDA approval. However, Bioprime decides that they're going to pull it off the market indefinitely when it could potentially save people's lives. Due to Sparrow being pulled off the market, Amanda eventually dies, and then now Ray and Rachel are dealing with this grief of a wife and a mother who has now passed due to cancer. 6 months later, we're thrown back in, and Ray gets a call from a Martin Bennett. Martin Bennett has been building a case against Bioprime, Simon Keeley, all these people that were part of this pulling Sparrow off the market, all the bad stuff that Bioprime has done, and who's behind it. And it goes much farther than we think, according to Martin Bennett. So he calls Ray, tell his story. He wants Ray to tell his story about his wife and about how Bioprime has ruined them because they lost somebody due to Bioprime's negligence and things like that. So Martin Bennett asked Ray to meet him at a train station, and he tells Rachel to stay in the house and not go anywhere, and he'll be back. Well, Rachel eventually follows him to the train station, and while on the train, Martin gets stabbed by a hitman, and Ray fights the assailant, who eventually stabs Ray and pushes him out the window. Rachel was also harmed in the process, being thrown out the window as well. 24 months later, we see Rachel training aggressively, and she almost kills someone in the process during her training. She's definitely changed from the beginning, where she was this very sweet, very humble kind of person, and now you're seeing her as this she has more aggression, more anger. She's mad about what's happened and whatnot. Ray eventually shows back up into the picture and is trying to find all of Bioprime's and Simon Keeley's movements. That he's following everything. He wants to know what's going on, how to get to them, things like that, given all the stuff that has happened. He's angry and he's mad about what's happened, that Bioprime has taken everything from him and his mind. So Ray goes to this benefit and eventually kills Simon Keeley, and him and Rachel end up on the run. The FBI starts investigating the Coopers, which are their last name, Ray Cooper and Rachel Cooper. Meeker is an FBI agent who gets a call from Rachel talking about how Ray is a good man and he just needs help. And Meeker asks, do you need help? This is when the dialogue starts to change and things you start noticing. Something's a little off about this movie, but we'll get into that as time goes on. Ray and Rachel are staying at a motel and are being hunted down and eventually get attacked again. Ray kills 2 more men, and they end up back on the road on the run. Ray finds out by talking to the hitman that Diana Morgan, who is a Pennsylvania congresswoman, is the one that hired the hitman. She's really important because in the beginning, she was the one that was going against Simon Keeley and Bioprime for what they were doing for pulling Sparrow off the market and all this stuff, saying that we need to take the rot out. And ultimately, she's the one that is causing all the stuff on the backside. She's a cop out. She's the one that she ordered the hit. She took the money. She took the bribe. So it was really shocking when Ray found out that that's who it was, because they were supporting her for her taking out the rot and wanting Sparrow back on the market. So after everything that's happened, we eventually see Ray running, escaping the FBI, trying to go back to the normal life after everything that's happened. The FBI is trying to catch up with him. And in turn, we find out that it's not actually Ray this whole time. It is Rachel, who has done everything. She killed Simon Keeley. She's killed 5 men. She's been on the run this whole time after her dad died at the train station, which was a really unique turn of events, because unless you paid attention to the dialogue, you wouldn't have really known. But this is where things get really interesting, because actually, if you do pay attention to the dialogue, you'll start to notice that things don't add up. And I'm going to tell you why. After seeing Ray get stabbed in close to the beginning of the film, we already know some stuff is weird after that. And it's mostly to do with dialogue or actions or things like that. When Ray is at the event for Simon Keeley, he picks up women's catering clothing. And if you paid close enough, it was blurred out, but if you paid close enough, you would see that he picked up women's clothing. So that already questions who it actually is, because why would he need women's clothing? He's Jason Momoa, he's ginormous. And there were several quotes throughout the film that made you question. All made her suffer. Do you need help from the FBI agent? Because when she started talking about, my dad just needs help, the FBI agent was like, do you need help? Because then she started questioning her sanity. When they talked about Paloma, she said, you're in control, and kept telling her, the FBI agent kept telling her, you're in control. That was really important to know, because she wasn't in control of her own mind. She kept flipping between Ray and Rachel. Another quote was, looking for a little girl who both lost her parents, and I'll be seeing you soon, Rachel, from the hitman. So that's really important to know, dialogue and things not being acknowledged. But they played it off well enough so it's still a surprise in the end, which I think was really special, because I think the first time I watched it, it was quite a surprise. But now knowing, it's actually pretty neat, because now I get to analyze it as a different way. And what Rachel suffers from is PTSD and dissociative identity disorder. This is really important, because this is why she's flipping between Rachel and Ray, because in turn, Rachel's father was more aggressive. She harbored the aggressive side of her dad, the fighter side of her dad, and used that to her ability. What she was out was for revenge and justice, but to do everything, she needed somebody more than herself. And I think for her, after everything she had been through, she struggled with her mom dying, her dad dying, and the only way was to keep him alive in her mind, so that way she could finish the job and finish fighting for the justice that she needed against Simon Keeley and Prime. After we find out it's Rachel, she comes to terms with that it is her and that she is in control, and for the rest of the movie she is Rachel. She does still see her dad and wants him there and needs him there, but it is now her as her body. She ends up jumping into water and she ends up captured. After she's captured, she ends up escaping from an ambulance to end up at Diana Morgan's office and gets attacked by the hitman. Now, as they're fighting, her and the hitman, he almost drowns her, but she hears her dad's voice to get up and to stay alive. And she does. She gets up, she fights back. She ends up stabbing the hitman, and he ends up dying. She goes back to Diana Morgan's office to get all the information she needs as she records their conversation, where Diana Morgan eventually confesses that she took the bribe and she ordered the hit. So She ends up sending that to the FBI so that the Congresswoman will eventually be arrested, which she is. And she got her revenge and her justice, and then Rachel disappears. There's this theory about parents and children throughout the movie, and it's a quote by Jason Momoa at the end. Where do we stop and they begin? This is a very interesting theory because what's neat about Rachel, she blurs the lines of both her mom and her dad. And Ray, for her, after his death, was keeping him alive. You also had this other part of Rachel, because there was Rachel and then there was Ray in the movie. But what it was is Rachel being Ray. The other part was Rachel being the loving and caring part and the rational part of her mom. And so you actually had both of them in there because Rachel in the movie after her father got stabbed, you see the caring and loving part of the mom and how she embodied that rationality. But then you also had how she embodied Ray's aggressiveness, the fighting portion of who Ray was, and that kind of stuff. So the theory behind where do we stop and they begin is the blurred lines between parents and children, and how Rachel is that blurred line because after their deaths, she became more like her parents. And there was really no stopping it. It's just the way it was. We are a continuation of our parents in some way, shape, or form, depending on the choices we make and who we are. I think that was a really interesting concept throughout the movie. I think is really important in the way the movie happens because at the end, Rachel says she's tired, she's done, she doesn't, the memory is fading of her parents. And I think that quote is important to note because it's pointing to she's done living for her parents, pointing to the DID that she has, that dissociative identity disorder. And it's a new beginning for her. It's a new life. So now hers is finally beginning because now she doesn't have to live for her parents. Now she doesn't have to do all the things that she needed to do because she did it. She did the revenge. She got the justice that she needed. And she did it for her family. And so now she can just go live her life and be who she wants to be instead of doing everything that was needed for her parents. So I'll give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's very, very good. And the way it's told, the way the surprise comes up of who Rachel is, what's happening, and that kind of stuff. I think it's just really outstanding how they did it. It's written really well. It's filmed really well. Like it's kept up to par of the same theme on what they were going for. And I really like that. So highly recommend. So what did you guys think of this movie? Did you like it more than I did? Did you like it less than I did? What did you think about it? Please let me know down in the comments below. And also, please let me know any movies or TV shows that y'all would like me to be reviewing. I'm always down to watch new things, so please comment down below. And I'll see you on the next one, guys.